Sing my tongue the Savior's glory, of his flesh the mystery seen.
Of the blood all the price exceeding, shed by our immortal
Hello and welcome to this week's
King,
installment
destined
on
to
Eucharistic Amazement. I think this is episode 20 of this little series that I've been doing, and it's getting to look a lot like Christmas here. I've got the poinsettia in the background. There again is my dad's painting of the butterfly. And I just have a thought that I thought I'd share with you today. And it happened, this thought, as I was hearing confessions there at Sacred Heart in Shawnee. It has nothing really to do with the confessions, but I was sitting there in the room that they are using, I believe it looks like, for their kind of daily mass chapel, if you will. It is a couple of meeting rooms. They could be divided with a little divider. Bigger than our Ram Time room over there in the community center, but similar in some ways. It was just a meeting room. And they have kind of a temporary altar set up with the ambo and everything, and people are facing there for Mass. You know, Sacred Heart is doing a little renovation there of their sanctuary space. They're doing some painting and some light work and some duct work, I think, and some stuff that they're doing in the sanctuary, moving things around a bit, doing some woodwork. It's looking very lovely, what I've seen thus far. But at the moment, they are in another space. I think they're probably using their social hall, their cafeteria for the masses on Sunday, but during the daily mass, during the week, I think they're using this space for daily mass. It looked like that anyway, so I presume that's what it's being used for. Here's a little picture, you know. And here's my thought. It works fine for a temporary space. But why do we build churches in the first place? The argument can sometimes be made, don't waste money on these big, extravagant churches and all this marble and everything, because the church is about the community and it's about the love that is fostered, how beautiful it is when brothers and sisters love one another. That's the church. Why are we spending all this money and time on these extravagant churches? And I think there's a fair argument. I think there's a balance. But the other side of that is I was not lifted up in this space. It was clearly a temporary meeting space. Now, if you're a longtime member of Good Shepherd, you probably remember the days when there was worship that was happening in the social hall, what is now the social hall. That was the kind of common room before the church was built. There was worship there. And I didn't experience Mass there. And I grew up in some ways, I went to Christ the King Church in Topeka, and we didn't have our church built yet. We went to Mass for several years in the basement there. And there's something charming about that that's intimate. That's where I did my first communion with the cinder block walls and everything. But it's not the final destination. And the thought is that we build churches because we want to give people as much as possible an experience with the divine, with something otherworldly. And although it is true that we are the church and we should have this beautiful community, there's the other aspect that when we are in the space, we want to build something that connects our minds to the grandeur of heaven. I don't know what you imagine heaven like, but I don't really imagine it as a meeting room. I imagine, and I'm not sure if I imagine it as a big Gothic church either, but something connects us with the lifting up of our hearts to heaven. One of the things I love about our space at Good Shepherd, and what I've taken a very little bit on church architecture, but one of the principles I know about church architecture is you're supposed to be lifted up and not brought down. You're supposed to be lifted up. And our church does that very well. Your eyes just naturally go up to that big, huge space there that's in the center. We are called to be lifted up, and the altar is right there in the middle of that. And it's meant to connect our experience here and lift us up to heaven. Now, we all know, I think if you're watching this program, that heaven isn't literally up. But we do look up into the heavens, and it is symbolically up. And we are lifted up into heaven. And so a church space should do that. It doesn't happen in a meeting room. We don't get lifted up. The ceiling is too small. The space isn't right. The lighting isn't right. It doesn't connect us and lift us up to God. And so, of course, this is not a slam against the meeting space that they're using. That's a temporary space. We go through those stages. It's still the Eucharist. All the essentials are there, and it's there, and it's important. And there is a beauty to celebrating in those small, intimate spaces in a retreat or whatever. But what the liturgy calls us to do and why we build churches is to help us to have a better sense of what it is we celebrate, that Eucharistic amazement. I've heard so many people as they walk into the church or say, wow, this is a beautiful space. And I'm always like, yep, it is. We're very blessed. And I'm so grateful to everyone that had a part in building our beautiful church. I hear it over and over again. There's something that connects inside of us that says, this is sacred, this is holy, this lifts me up, which we just don't get in a meeting room. So although there are expenses to build a beautiful church, you go to many of these churches. One of the newer ones is St. Michael, and it's beautiful, has all the angels and everything, and Nativity did a renovation, have got all those angels. It's meant to call us into the heavenly celebration. Did you know that when we celebrate the Eucharist, it's not just here on earth. We are entering into the divine celebration with God, the Father, the angels, all the saints celebrating. So the space that we are in, it matters, at least as our permanent space. We want to strive to get to heaven. And in the churches that we build, that's meant to touch our hearts, to lift our hearts to heaven. So churches are beautiful, and I'm so grateful that we have here at Good Shepherd our beautiful church. And I was reminded how important that is, how much space matters. So just kind of a little thought today and how blessed we are in our space at Good Shepherd. And it was money well spent to build a church for generations to enjoy and to be lifted up to God, and for us to be amazed at the gift that we have the opportunity to participate in each and every day and each and every week. So have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Tantum ergo sacramentum. Tantum ergo sacramentum. Tantum ergo sacramentum.